My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm 36 years old. 2 weeks ago, I came home after 7 years of living abroad to find my father in a hospital bed, on life support, dying alone. No family by his side. No one holding his hand. Just machines keeping him alive while the people who were supposed to love him were 8,000 miles away in Bali, posting vacation photos on Instagram. My mother, my 2 siblings, and their spouses, all of them on a luxury vacation they'd planned months in advance. A vacation they didn't cancel even when Dad had a massive stroke 3 days before their flight. A vacation they justified by saying he's stable and there's nothing we can do anyway and the doctors have it under control. They left him to die alone while they sipped cocktails on a beach. When I found out, I made one phone call to our family accountant. Froze every shared account my father had with my mother. Froze the credit cards my siblings used that were linked to Dad's accounts. Cut off their access to money while they were halfway around the world with no way to pay for their return flights home. Within an hour, my phone started ringing. My mother, screaming. My brother, demanding explanations. My sister, crying about being stranded. And when they finally asked me why I'd done it, when they finally stopped yelling long enough to listen, I said 5 words that made them all go silent. Dad's dying. Come home. Now. Before I tell you how freezing my family's money mid-vacation forced them to confront what they'd done and how my father's final days revealed who really cared about him, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss stories like this. If you've ever watched family members prioritize convenience over someone who was dying, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment with where you're watching from and whether you've ever had to be the only person who showed up when it mattered. Your stories of family abandonment and choosing differently matter to me. Now let me take you back to how I discovered what they'd done. I left home 7 years ago to teach English in South Korea. It wasn't running away, it was pursuing opportunity, adventure, a different life than the one I'd have had if I'd stayed in our small Ohio town. My family didn't understand. They thought I was abandoning them, being selfish, choosing strangers over blood. Korea, my mother had said when I told them about the job offer. Why would you go there? What's wrong with staying here and getting a real job? Teaching is a real job. You know what I mean. A job here. Near family. Where you belong. But I didn't feel like I belonged. I felt suffocated by expectations, by the assumption that I'd stay close. Work at my father's construction company doing admin work, marry a local guy, have kids, repeat the cycle. I wanted something different. So I went. And my family never quite forgave me for it. I came home for visits, Christmas one year, a summer the next, but the visits were strained. My mother would make passive-aggressive comments about how nice it must be to be so far away that I didn't have to help with anything. My siblings would joke about me being too good for Ohio now. My father would just look disappointed, like I'd failed some test I didn't know I was taking. After a few years, the visits became less frequent. The communication became mostly texts and occasional video calls. I built a life in Seoul, teaching job, boyfriend, apartment, community. I was happy. But I also felt guilty for being happy somewhere else. 3 weeks ago, I got a message from my brother Tyler. Dad had a stroke. It's bad. Thought you should know. That was it. No details. No, you should come home. Just a notification, like he was telling me about bad weather. I called immediately. Tyler answered on the 4th ring. How bad is it? Pretty bad. He's in the ICU. They're not sure if he'll wake up. Is he going to die? Maybe. Doctors say the next 72 hours are critical. I'm coming home. You don't have to do that. There's nothing you can do. From here anyway. He's my father. I'm coming home. Suit yourself. But we're actually leaving for Bali tomorrow. Family vacation we planned months ago. Non-refundable. I couldn't process what I was hearing. Dad's dying and you're going on vacation? He's stable right now. The doctors said if there's change they'll call us. And honestly, Sarah, what are we supposed to do? Sit in a hospital room staring at machines? That doesn't help anyone. It helps Dad. It shows him he's not alone. He's unconscious. He doesn't know if we're there or not. You don't know that. Look, you've been gone for 7 years. You don't get to come back now and judge how we handle this. We're doing the best we can. If you want to fly halfway around the world to sit in a hospital room, that's your choice. But we're going to Bali. He hung up. I booked a flight that day. 23 hours of travel, Seoul to San Francisco to Cleveland, then a 2-hour drive to the hospital in our hometown. I didn't sleep. Just sat on planes thinking about my father lying in a hospital bed while his family prioritized a vacation over his possible death. I arrived at the hospital exhausted and furious. Found Dad's room in the ICU. Walked in to find him exactly as Tyler had described, unconscious, intubated, surrounded by machines that beeped and hissed and kept him alive mechanically. A nurse was checking his vitals. She looked up when I entered. Are you family? I'm his daughter. Sarah. Oh. Her expression shifted to something like relief. I'm glad someone's here. He hasn't had any visitors since his wife left 2 days ago. She left? She said she had a trip planned. That she'd be back in 2 weeks. She left a number to call if there was any change in his condition. 2 weeks. My mother had left my dying father alone for 2 weeks to go on vacation. Has his condition changed? He's been stable. But stable in critical condition isn't good. His brain activity is minimal. The doctors are talking about decisions that will need to be made soon about life support. What kind of decisions? Whether to continue aggressive intervention or transition to comfort care. Those decisions should involve family. I'm here now. Good. Because someone needs to be. I spent that first day just sitting with Dad. Holding his hand. Talking to him even though he couldn't respond. Telling him about Seoul, about my students, about the life I'd built. Apologizing for being gone so long. Promising I was here now. The nurses rotated through. Each one seemed surprised to see me there. One of them, an older woman named Margaret, pulled me aside during a shift change. I shouldn't say this. But I'm glad you're here. Your father has been alone for 3 days. No visitors except his wife briefly before she left. It's been hard to watch. Did he wake up at all? Before the stroke got worse? Briefly. For about an hour after he first came in. He was confused, couldn't speak well because of the stroke. But he kept saying a name. Sarah. We assumed that was you. My throat closed up. He was asking for me? He was. I'm sorry. I don't know if that makes this harder or easier to hear. It made it devastating. My father had woken up from a massive stroke, had maybe an hour of consciousness before slipping into this coma, and had spent that hour calling for me, the daughter who'd been 8,000 miles away for 7 years. While the family who stayed close had abandoned him in his final crisis. If you're already feeling the rage building and want to know how Sarah made her family pay for abandoning their dying father, smash that like button right now. Because what she did next didn't just freeze their bank accounts, it exposed everything wrong with how they'd treated the man who'd provided for them their entire lives. Drop a comment telling me, would you have done the same thing? Or would you have let them finish their vacation in peace? That night, I stayed at Dad's house. The house he'd built with his own hands 40 years ago. The house he'd raised us in. The house that was now empty. Except for me and the ghost of better times. I looked through old photos. Found pictures of Dad teaching me to ride a bike. Dad at my high school graduation. Dad looking proud even though I was leaving for Korea. I thought he was disappointed. Maybe he'd just been sad to see me go. I called my boyfriend in Seoul. Told him what was happening. How long will you stay? He asked. As long as it takes. However long he has left. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry you're going through this alone. I'm not alone. I'm with him. The next morning, I went back to the hospital. Spent another day in that ICU room. Nurses would come in, do their checks, leave. Doctors would update me on his condition, which remained critically stable but with diminishing brain activity. We need to start thinking about next steps, one doctor said gently. Your father signed a DNR, do not resuscitate. He doesn't want extraordinary measures if his heart stops. But he's currently on life support that's keeping him alive. His living will specifies that he doesn't want prolonged life support if there's no meaningful chance of recovery. How long before we have to make that decision? Soon. Maybe a week. Maybe less if his condition deteriorates. And where's the rest of his family in this decision? The doctor looked uncomfortable. We've been trying to reach his wife. She said she'd return if there was a significant change. But these decisions require family input. His wife is in Bali. On vacation. With my siblings. The doctor's expression hardened. I see. Yeah. That evening, I was scrolling through social media out of masochistic curiosity. Found my mother's Facebook page. Recent photos from 3 hours ago, her and my siblings at a beach bar in Bali, drinks in hand, smiling for the camera. The caption, much needed family time. Blessed beyond measure. Family time. Without Dad. While he was dying. I screenshotted the photos. Stared at them for a long time. Then I made a decision. I called our family accountant, Richard, who'd been handling Dad's business finances for 20 years. Sarah, how is your father? Critical. Not expected to recover. Richard, I need to ask you about his accounts. What about them? Dad has a joint account with Mom, right? And credit cards linked to his accounts that my siblings use? He does. Why? Can those be frozen? Temporarily? There was a pause. Technically, yes. If you have power of attorney for medical and financial decisions, which your father granted you in his living will. I have power of attorney? You do. Your father updated his directives 2 years ago. Made you his medical and financial power of attorney. Didn't he tell you? He hadn't. My father had given me control of his medical and financial decisions 2 years ago, right around the time I'd stopped coming home as often, and had never mentioned it. He didn't tell me. Interesting. Well, you have full authority to make financial decisions on his behalf during his incapacitation. That includes freezing accounts to protect his assets. Then I want everything frozen. Joint account with Mom. Credit cards used by my siblings. Everything that's connected to Dad's accounts and accessible to them. Sarah, that's a serious step. Your mother and siblings will be stranded in Bali with no access to money. I know. That's the point. May I ask why? Because Dad's dying and they're on vacation. Because they left him alone to take selfies on a beach. Because someone needs to make them understand what they've done. Richard was quiet. Then. I'll handle it immediately. The accounts will be frozen within the hour. Thank you. Sarah? Your father made you power of attorney for a reason. He trusted you to make the right decisions. I think you're making the right decision. The accounts were frozen by 9 p.m. The credit cards were declined by 10 p.m. when my sister tried to pay for dinner at their resort. My phone started ringing at 10:15. My sister Jenna, crying. Sarah, something's wrong with my credit card. It's not working. None of our cards are working. I know. What? How do you know? Because I froze them. You what? I froze all the accounts connected to Dad. The joint account with Mom. The credit Cards you and Tyler use that are linked to his accounts. Everything. You can't do that. I can. I have power of attorney. Dad gave it to me 2 years ago. That's impossible. Mom would have told us. Mom didn't know. Dad didn't tell anyone. But it's legal and it's done. Sarah, we're in Bali. We're 8,000 miles from home. How are we supposed to pay for anything? I don't know. Figure it out. This is insane. You can't just strand us here. You stranded Dad in a hospital to die alone. I'm just making sure you understand what that feels like. She started crying harder. It's not the same thing, it's exactly the same thing. You're experiencing a crisis far from home with no support. That's what you did to Dad. He's unconscious. He doesn't know if we're there. You don't know that. And even if it's true, it doesn't make abandoning him okay. Tyler took the phone from Jenna. Sarah, this is ridiculous. Unfreeze the accounts right now. No. We need those accounts to get home. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you left Dad to die alone so you could have a vacation. We had this trip planned for months. We couldn't just cancel. Yes, you could. Dad had a massive stroke. He's dying. You absolutely could have canceled a vacation to be with him. There's nothing we can do at the hospital. You can be present. You can hold his hand. You can make sure he's not alone when he dies. That's what you can do. You're being unreasonable. I'm being the only person in this family who cares more about Dad dying than about a vacation in Bali. The accounts stay frozen until you get home. How are we supposed to get home without money? Call Mom. She has her own accounts that aren't connected to Dad's. She can buy your flights home. And then you can all come here and be with Dad for whatever time he has left. Tyler hung up on me. 10 minutes later, my mother called. Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, what the hell do you think you're doing? Hi, Mom. Do not hi Mom me. You froze our accounts? While we're out of the country? How dare you? How dare I? Mom, Dad is dying and you're on vacation. How dare you? Your father is stable. The doctors said he's critically stable with minimal brain activity and they need to make decisions soon about life support. He's dying, Mom. And you left him alone to go to Bali. We needed this trip. Do you have any idea how stressful it's been taking care of your father for years while you've been gallivanting around Asia? Taking care of him? You put him in a hospital and flew 8,000 miles away. He's been sick for years. His diabetes, his heart problems, all of it. I've been managing his medications, his appointments, his care for years while you were too busy teaching English to children to come home and help. Then this was your chance to be with him. When he needed you most. And instead you went on vacation. I needed a break. He needs his family. He's dying and he's alone and you're drinking cocktails on a beach posting about how blessed you are. Silence. Then, quietly, you saw the photos. I saw the photos. Much needed family time. Without Dad. While he's dying. Sarah, the accounts stay frozen until you come home. All of you. I don't care how you pay for it. But you're coming home and you're going to be here for Dad's final days whether you want to be or not. You can't force us, I can't. But I can make sure you don't have access to Dad's money while you're ignoring him. So figure it out, Mom. Use your own money. Borrow from friends. Sell jewelry. I don't care. But the accounts stay frozen until you're here. I hung up. Okay, before I tell you what happened when they finally made it home and how Dad's final days revealed everything wrong with this family, I need to know, was Sarah right to do this? To freeze their money and force them home? Or should she have let them finish their vacation? Drop yes or no in the comments. And if you're still watching, Hit that like button because the resolution is both heartbreaking and satisfying. For 3 days, my phone exploded with calls and messages. Jenna crying about being stranded. Tyler threatening legal action. My mother alternating between rage and manipulation. You're tearing this family apart. I'm the only one trying to hold it together. Your father would be ashamed of you. Dad asked for me when he woke up. Where were you? That shut her up. They eventually found a way home. My mother had savings accounts that weren't joined with Dad. She paid for flights, expensive last-minute tickets that she complained about constantly. They arrived back in Ohio 4 days. After I'd frozen the accounts. 4 days that I'd spent with Dad. Sitting by his bed. Talking to him. Watching his vitals slowly decline. The doctors had started conversations about transitioning to comfort care. About removing life support. About letting him go peacefully. My family arrived at the hospital on day 5. Walked into Dad's ICU room looking tanned and resentful. Happy now? Tyler said. We're here. Unfreeze the accounts. Not yet. What? You need to be here. Actually be here. Not just show up for 5 minutes and leave. You need to spend time with Dad. Talk to him. Be his family. My mother pushed past me to Dad's bedside. Looked at him with an expression I couldn't read. He looks terrible. He's dying. The doctor said he might not even be conscious. That his brain activity is minimal. They don't know for sure what he can hear or feel. But even if he can't hear us, we should be here. That's what family does. Jenna was crying. I didn't want it to be like this. I thought we had more time. I thought he'd be okay. He's not okay. He hasn't been okay. And now we have to make decisions about his care. The doctors came in later that day. Explained the options. Continue life support indefinitely with no meaningful hope of recovery, or honor his wishes and his living will and transition to comfort care. What does that mean? My mother asked. It means we remove the intubation and other life support. We keep him comfortable with medication. And we let his body complete its natural process. Based on his condition, that would likely mean he'd pass within hours or days. You're asking us to kill him. We're asking you to honor his wishes. Your husband didn't want prolonged life support if there was no hope of meaningful recovery. There isn't. My mother looked at me. What do you think? I think we should honor what Dad wanted. He didn't want to be kept alive by machines indefinitely. He wanted dignity. Easy for you to say. You haven't been here. You don't know what it's been like. I've been here for a week. Where have you been? She didn't answer. We made the decision together, though it felt like I was the only one who'd truly thought about what Dad would want. The doctor scheduled the transition to comfort care for the following morning. That night, we all stayed with Dad. My mother, my siblings, and me. In one room, together for the first time in years. It should have been a moment of family unity. Instead, it felt like we were strangers forced into proximity by obligation. Tyler broke the silence. I'm sorry. For going to Bali. For leaving Dad. Jenna nodded, crying. Me too. I don't know what I thought. That we had more time. That it would be okay. My mother said nothing. Mom? I prompted. I'm sorry your father is dying. I'm not sorry I took a vacation. I've been taking care of him for years. I needed a break. He needed you more. He had nurses. He had doctors. He had machines keeping him alive. What difference does it make if I'm sitting here staring at him? It makes a difference to him. It makes a difference to me. It should make a difference to you. You don't get to judge me. You left 7 years ago and barely came back. You don't know what it's been like. Then tell me. Help me understand how the woman who married Dad and promised to be with him in sickness and health could leave him to die alone so she could go on vacation. She turned away. You wouldn't understand. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe 7 years away had made me an outsider to whatever dynamics had developed in my absence. But I knew this: when Dad woke up for that hour after his stroke, he'd called for me, not them. And maybe that meant something. The next morning, they removed life support. Extubated Dad. Made him comfortable with morphine. Told us it was now just a matter of time. We sat with him. All 4 of us. Waiting. Dad lasted 6 hours. His breathing became shallow. His heart rate slowed. The monitors that had been beeping steadily for a week started showing irregular rhythms. A nurse came in. It won't be long now. Talk to him. He can probably hear you. My mother held his hand. I'm sorry, Richard. I'm sorry I wasn't always the wife you deserved. I'm sorry I left when you needed me. I'm sorry. My siblings said their goodbyes. Told Dad they loved him. That they were sorry. Then it was my turn. I leaned close to Dad's ear. Thank you for making me power of attorney. Thank you for trusting me to make the right decisions. Thank you for calling my name when you woke up. I'm sorry I was so far away for so long. I'm sorry I wasn't here when you first got sick. But I'm here now. And I'll make sure Mom and Tyler and Jenna remember you properly. Not as an inconvenience or an obligation, but as the man who built a life for us with his own hands. I love you, Dad. You can let go now. He died 10 minutes later. Stopped breathing. Heart monitor went flat. The nurse confirmed time of death. My mother collapsed into sobs. My siblings held her. And I sat there feeling both devastated and relieved. Devastated that he was gone. Relieved that he wasn't alone at the end. After the funeral, we dealt with Dad's estate. I maintained power of attorney to execute his will. He'd left everything in detailed instructions. The house to my mother, with the stipulation that she couldn't sell it for 5 years. His construction business to Tyler, with management requirements that forced him to actually work instead of coasting. Savings split between all of us equally. And a letter. Addressed to me. That Dad had left with his lawyer to be delivered after his death. Sarah, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry for that. I wanted more time with you. I wanted to see what your life in Korea became. I wanted to meet your boyfriend and see if you'd ever come home permanently. But if I'm gone, I know you were there at the end. You're reading this because I made you power of attorney, and that means you had to make the hard decisions I knew were coming. Thank you for that. Thank you for coming home. Thank you for making sure I wasn't alone. Your mother loves me, but she's tired. Your siblings love me, but they're wrapped up in their own lives. You're the one who'll remember who I was before I got sick. You're the one who'll tell the stories. That's why I chose you. I love you, sweetheart. Make sure they remember me well. Dad, I read that letter sitting in Dad's construction office. The office where he'd built plans for houses. Where he'd taught me basic carpentry when I was 12. Where he'd told me I could do anything I wanted with my life, even if what I wanted was to leave. He'd known. He'd known I'd come back. He'd known I was the one who'd care enough to make the hard decisions. And he'd trusted me with that responsibility. I unfroze the accounts after the funeral. Tyler and Jenna got access to their credit cards again. My mother got access to the joint account, though it had been transferred to her name fully after Dad's death. She never thanked me for forcing them to come home. Never acknowledged that I'd been right to do it. But she also never forgot what it had felt like to be in Bali, far from home, when the money ran out and reality crashed in. A year later, I'm still in Ohio. Stayed after Dad's funeral. Took over part of his construction business alongside Tyler, though I'm also still teaching online for my school in Seoul. My boyfriend came to visit, decided he liked Ohio, decided he liked me enough to stay. We're building something here. My relationship with my family is complicated. My mother and I are cordial but distant. Tyler and I work together but don't talk about that week. Jenna calls occasionally, always apologizing, always trying to make up for being in Bali when Dad died. I don't know if we'll ever fully repair what broke that week. But I know this: when Dad died, he wasn't alone. He was surrounded by family, even if it took freezing their bank accounts to get them there. And that matters more than their resentment about how I made it happen. Your dying parent deserves more than machines and strangers. Your vacation can be rescheduled. Your convenience is not more important than someone's final days. And when your family prioritizes everything except being present for death, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is force them to stop running. If you made it this far, you understand what it's like to be the only person who shows up when it matters. Hit that subscribe button for more stories about family obligations, difficult decisions, and choosing presence over convenience. Drop a comment about whether Sarah should have unfrozen the accounts immediately or kept them frozen longer. Your perspective matters. Hit like if you believe sometimes love means making people uncomfortable to force them to do what's right. And share this with someone who needs to hear that being present for death isn't optional, it's what separates family from strangers. Remember, the people who say there's nothing we can do anyway about a dying loved one are usually the ones looking for permission to leave. And when someone leaves, sometimes the kindest thing you can do is make sure they can't run far enough to escape the guilt. Until next time, this is Sarah, reminding you that I came home after years away to find Dad dying and my family in Bali. I froze their bank accounts. Stranded them until they came home. Forced them to be present for his final days. And while they resented me for it, I know Dad would have been proud. Because sometimes the right thing and the easy thing are complete opposites. And I chose right.